Let's start off with some flour. Then we're gonna go ahead and get some 100% pure pumpkin, canned is fine, maple syrup, salt, 1 packet of active dry yeast, and of course some fucking water. Mixing bowl, tea kettle or teapot, a spatula, some measuring cups, food scale, and please don't forget some olive oil or something to grease. And the most important tool for this recipe is going to be some twine. It'll help us shape those pumpkin bread rolls. Alright, we first want to start prepping our yeast, so we're going to pour out our whole packet of yeast. We're going to go ahead and also pour in 1.5 tablespoons of maple syrup. With our tea kettle, we should have warmed some water. Key word is warm, not hot, but warm water, about a cup, not all the way full. And we're going to go ahead and let that yeast and sugar get together. Let that yeast eat up that maple syrup. Start doing some fermentation for about 5 minutes. And here's just a beautiful time lapse of that yeast producing some CO2, carbon dioxide, and it is glorious. But let's go ahead and move on to weighing out our other ingredients. So first we're gonna go ahead and weigh out 675 grams of flour. Disclaimer, I just tweaked the numbers a bit. I didn't double it, but kind of. Next, we're gonna go ahead and also measure out 330 grams of pumpkin puree. And so with your handy dandy food scale, which everybody should invest in, make sure to do that. Now we're gonna go ahead and first pour the pumpkin puree before we pour in the flour. Before we pour in the flour, we wanna go ahead and mix that pumpkin puree with the yeast and the water and the maple syrup till everything is mixed in pretty well and we get this pretty pumpkin-y orange color. I went ahead and poured in half of my flour. I didn't wanna pour in everything yet, just to mix in some of that pumpkin. And again, we'll pour in the rest in a moment. But the next thing we want to go ahead and do is add in 1.5 teaspoons of our salt. And then after we've done that, we can go ahead and pour in the rest of our flour. After we've added our salt, of course, make sure to add the salt. Don't forget that, otherwise it'll taste kind of bland. It needs salt, okay? Alright, we're gonna go ahead and pour in that flour, and then with our fucking hands, we're gonna knead that dough. Again, key word is knead with a K, for about 10 minutes, and that's my time lapse of me just basically going ham. After we've kneaded it for 10 minutes, we're gonna go ahead and grease it, right? We're gonna go ahead and grease it and just form it into a nice little ball. And then we're gonna go ahead and cover it and wait about 1.5 hours before moving on to the next thing. Once it has been done for 1.5 hours, we can go ahead and punch that fucker right down the middle. And so our dough deflates. Once our dough has deflated, of course, we want to go ahead and prep some flour, and we're going to go ahead and roll that out. Now, I don't have a rolling pin, but if you have a sturdy water bottle like I did, that's just what I went and used, because I don't have a rolling pin. So I just went ahead and I just use that. I wash it all the time, so it's not like gross or anything. We want to roll it out till it's a nice flat circle. And then once it's in a nice flat circle, we want to go ahead and just start cutting into pieces. So just do like the halvesies rule, just go halves all the way around. And once you've cut all the way around, we want to go ahead and roll each of those individual pieces into balls, the little bread dough balls. And so the next thing we want to go ahead and do is prep it to be the pumpkin shape. So what you want to do is with your twine, you want to cut some twine and then put the dough in the center and then just keep going crossways. Flip the pumpkin over and go across again. Again, following that halvesies rule. If you just pay attention to my hands, it's there on how to do it. So I'm probably explaining this really terribly. I'll also have like the actual verbal instructions from the recipe down in the description box. But yeah, I just kind of like figured, you know, you cut your twine, you put your dough in the center of the twine, and then you basically wrap it. And then once you wrap it, you twist it to wrap it to another side. So kind of again following that halvesies rule. And once you've done that, you want to go ahead and tie it at the top and then basically cut off the rest of the twine. And don't worry, the pumpkin bread, the little pumpkin doughs itself, that dough will go ahead and continue to rise while you're doing it for the rest of them. And there you go, nice and beautiful little pumpkin bread dough roll thing. And then here's just another clip of me doing it one more time, just for those of us that just need another visual, but this is just a faster version of me doing it. So again, you want to put your dough in the center with your twine, criss it over, flip it over, criss it over again, crisscross it over again, and then so you have at least 8 little rounds, and then again tying it off at the end there. And that's really it. Pretty simple once you figure out like the crisscrossing motions. And then here's the rest of these little pumpkin ball thingies, pumpkin bread ball things, pumpkin balls. Say that with me, pumpkin balls. Anyways, after you've got them all ready, you want to go ahead and let them rise again for another 30 minutes and then put them in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes at 340 degrees. Once they're done, boom, look how cute they are. Give them time to cool off and make sure to take off all the twine so that way it doesn't break apart later. Let's eat it. Alrighty, so I tasted them fresh. Fresh bread always tastes amazing. They were so good. That's just butter on it, so it looks a little glossy. But overall, really good. They were even good like for the rest of the week. So, because I'm editing right now. And really, like, I highly recommend this recipe for sure. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next one.